presentation, and thank you. Mike Walsh, co-founder and CEO of Leverage Software. As Justin mentioned, we're a white label community platform, and I don't have any screenshots of the People map or anything else in our product, actually. And I did write this on the plane, so pardon the, I want to say unprofessionalism, but I think you'll like it anyhow. So what I'm going to try to do here is, I'm going to talk about something that we've been talking about at Leverage for 12 to 18 months called discovery. And I think this is a good time to talk about it in this environment because I think it applies to everybody. I think it applies to software vendors or solution providers. I think it applies to brands. I think we'll find some interesting pieces to this. And I think service providers who are providing consulting services to the brands and partnering with the solution providers will also benefit from this a little bit. And as far as the audience goes, I hope that some of you will find these concepts as new. I suspect some of you won't. And the ones that don't, I hope that you'll find the viewpoint on it to be a different viewpoint and think about it a little bit differently and maybe interesting and be able to apply that on a daily basis. And there might be a couple of you who you've seen it before, heard it before, thought it before, and I apologize for that. So let me actually go back here. The title here is Discovery in Ambient Awareness, Tools, Techniques, and Processes is kind of how Amber and I thought about it as we were texting the topic to each other. And what I mean about discovery is it's finding information that you didn't necessarily know you were looking for or that was going to be important to you. And there's some synergy with Justin's presentation. I don't think there's any overlap at all, but you'll hear a couple of similar themes. Within the last couple of months, I've seen Biz Stone, who's a co-founder of Twitter, and also Jay Adelson, who's the CEO of Dig, founder and CEO of Dig. They're on a TV show called Press Here TV, which follows Meet the Press on the West Coast. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, thanks. And it was interesting. Sarah Lacey is one of the co-hosts and one of the panelists, and she's doing the interview, and they always make a comparison to Google, I guess, just because they're kicking butt and making so much money. And the thing about Google that each of them said, and they didn't, Jay was about 2 weeks after Biz, and they actually made the comparison to Twitter, and he said, well, Twitter does something that we don't really do, or we do something that Twitter really doesn't do, which is discovery. We allow people to discover articles and topics that they didn't necessarily know that they were interested in. And I thought that was interesting because just 2 weeks prior, when Biz was asked about Google, he said, well, we do something that Google doesn't really do. We enable discovery because people find things based on relationships, and that really doesn't happen through Google. So we've been talking about it, as I say, for a long time, and what I mean by that, when we talk about it, it's just becoming aware of interesting things, and particularly things that you may not have known that were even interesting to you. So it's kind of like listening to a radio station where you might hear a song and say, well, I hadn't thought of that genre, I hadn't thought of that particular song by that specific group. And that happens through these tools, particularly Twitter and Facebook, I think, because of the stream and because you've got so much information coming at you so quickly. I think in some cases there's too much information, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But these streams allow you to discover new ideas, discover new people, and when you can put the ideas and the people together, it's a pretty powerful way to get things done. So a couple of examples here. Twitter, I think, is pretty good. I actually think TweetDeck or Twitter search is better. Because a Twitter stream of 1,200 people is just, to me, it's useless. It's just overwhelming. I can't track that. I can follow maybe 20, 30, 40 people pretty effectively. figure out where the relevancy is and where the relationships are, so you can get a meaningful stream. And the core part of this presentation is going to be, how do you do that? What do you think about? What ideas do you take in order to build that stream? So from a radio standpoint, Pandora probably does this from my viewpoint better than anybody. If you don't use it, use it. You go and you create stations, internet stations, and it will show you other bands that are like the ones that you're listening to, and you can toggle up and down and refine that filter so that you start with you're discovering a lot of new things, but you're allowed to fine-tune that discovery process and really tune in to exactly what you want to listen to. Facebook, I think, is pretty good through the feed stream as well, as long as you've got different groupings of friends, or you don't have too many irrelevant or too many friends that provide irrelevant content to you. So Amazon, I think, sort of did the first level of this quite well through just product recommendations. Not really people focused, but really product similarities and focuses. And then I think that here in this case, this is a Twitter search stream, so there are probably 30 or 40 people that I follow really closely on Twitter among the 1,200 or so that I do follow. And from them, I find new relationships, I get great information. I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't really listen to the news anymore. I see what my relationships are doing. I hardly watch any television because I'm getting so much information, so unless it's a sporting event or something, a political speech that I'm interested in, the rest of the information I glean from my feed streams. Facebook, as I mentioned, everyone's familiar with the Facebook feed. Pandora, it's just pandora.com. But the cool things that they do is it learns over time, so the algorithm gets much smarter, and it's providing you with information through a thumbs up and thumbs down that is going to be really relevant to you. And this happens, this is one screenshot from our product, but it's the best example that I have because we use it on a daily basis. And this is where it applies to the professional world. And there are other great products out there that I'm sure do the same thing. So when I go into the office or don't go into the office, this is open on my desktop all day long, and it tells me exactly what's going on in the company. So if Amber, for example, says that the website's going to launch on a specific day, I can tell whether or not that statement is accurate just by going through the feed and seeing what the activity level is and when things are posted and check out the wiki content, because everybody in the company is contributing, and I get a news feed of all the activity in the company-wide. Now, if we were 10,000 people, I might take a subset of that news feed, but in our case, we're not, so I can look at all the activity in the stream, and it just tells me how my business is doing at any moment of the day. And there's also a capability to request features and things like that, polling. So these types of feeds, I think, are going to be the most important way to discover a bunch of information, but refine it based on your relationships and the relevancy that it has, the information has to you specifically. So who cares about this? I think that in order to be effective and efficient, at least in my role, or as Justin mentioned,